Hey there, welcome to the Not Just Mama podcast, the show where we talk about building businesses, chasing dreams, raising little yous, and keeping it real through all the chaos. We're diving into mindset, motivation, and all things mompreneur life, all while microwaving our coffee for the 20 millionth time. I'm your host, Heather Madsen, a dream-chasing mompreneur who knows exactly what it's like to juggle big ambitions with a million daily tasks. Because let's be honest, we're not just moms. We're wives, we're partners, we're daughters, friends, creators, dreamers, and so much more. And just because we're raising little tiny humans doesn't mean we have to put our dreams on the back burner. We deserve to chase them, build something incredible, and make a difference, all while being amazing moms. So go ahead and nuke that coffee once again and get comfy, because we're diving in. Hey there, welcome back to the Not Just Mama podcast. I'm your host, Heather, and today's episode is a bit of a tender one. It's personal, and it might be one of the most important messages that I'll ever share here, because we're talking about something that every mama, well, every human really, will face at some point, and that's knowing when it's time to let go, okay? Not because we didn't care, and it's not because we didn't try hard enough, but it's because something that once worked, that once felt right, no longer does, okay? And when that time comes, it's okay to walk away. Even if it's painful, even if people don't understand, even if you thought it was supposed to be your forever thing. So today I'm sharing a story from my own life, a season that changed everything for our family. And I gotta tell you, it was hard. And it challenged what I thought I knew about loyalty, commitment, and doing what's best. But it also taught me something I hope you'll hold close to yourself too. That when something no longer serves you any longer, it's not failure to let go. It's wisdom, it's bravery, and it's love. It's love for yourself. And it just gives you more power and control, if that makes sense. So this one's for you. If you've ever stayed somewhere way too long, in a job, in a relationship, on a team, in a routine, simply because it was familiar. Even when everything inside of you whispered, this doesn't feel right anymore, okay? And if you've ever found yourself wrestling with that gut feeling that something just isn't right, even when it's what you thought you wanted, this episode is for you. So grab a cozy drink, take a big breath, and let's chat. So I want to take you back to the beginning. My oldest son, man, he fell in love with hockey. Really, both of my kids did. And it wasn't one of those we pushed him into it things. He just really gravitated towards it, and especially playing the position of goaltender, okay? Which, if you've ever watched youth hockey, you know that the position of a goalie is a big deal, okay? It's pressure, it's a lot of responsibility, but the fact of the matter is that he loved it. And from the moment he first put on that gear, it was like he found his place, okay? And he was proud to be the goalie. And honestly, we were really proud of him. I mean, as a goalie parent, we were obviously nervous. I feel like most parents don't really want their children to be goalie or even like have that as a want. But we supported him in what he wanted to do because we saw it light a fire in him. So 8U, if you're not around hockey too much, it's just a hockey program for kids 8 and under, and they range from like 6 or 7 to 8, okay? So even back in 8U, when technically he wasn't supposed to be a full-time goalie, because that's what the program says, like, no full-time goalies at this time. You know, they're still young. They're still trying to figure out what they want. But, you know, my son insisted on it. He loved it as soon as he tried it. And in that program, really, the rule was to rotate all the players to play goalie. But for my son, if it wasn't goalie, it wasn't hockey at all. And we saw that, okay? So we suited him up anyways, every chance he got, because that's how much he loved it. And he ended up playing goalie like every time he got on the ice, which was awesome. And, my husband was coordinating that program. So he's like, yeah, just go out there in the goalie gear. So we kind of broke the rules a little bit. But we are the kind of people where when we see something that interests a child and they really want to do it and they have that drive for it, we aren't going to block them from doing it, okay? And it is really hard to find goalies. So if he has that interest, then why not, right? Okay, so fast forward a year, then came 10U. So he got out of that age group and now we enter 10U. And that's when the real journey began. It was really the first season that he officially got to be a full-time goalie and it was okay to be, right? And my husband, he jumped in to support our son, and not just our son, but the whole team and the other goalie in general. So he stepped up as the goalie coach for the team. Even though he had never been a goalie himself, he took it seriously. He took courses and gained certifications. He did tons of research on goalie development. I can't tell you how many nights he was sitting on the couch here and just scrolling through his phone and watching all these YouTube videos, reading all these articles. And even though he wasn't a goalie and he was a player when he played hockey, he still showed up for these goalies and did his best. And you know what? The proof was really in the pudding, because the growth our son experienced this year under his coaching, it really showed. I mean, it spoke for itself. So I truly and wholeheartedly believe that you do not have to play a certain position or even play hockey to be a good coach. And my father-in-law is proof of that. Like, he never played hockey a day in his life, but he got coach of the year back in 2005. So I'm just saying, okay? It's all about how much you love the game, how much you know about it, and instilling that love for the game in the children that you coach, okay? So looking back, I remember watching my son in the net thinking, this kid is fearless. I mean, really, the kid would have pucks launched at him and he wouldn't even flinch. I mean, I would be flinching left and right. He was definitely growing. He was learning and he had so much heart for it. And when I say that, I really mean it. And yeah, in the moment in time, and still to this day, he is technically a 9-year-old kid. He wasn't perfect and he didn't make all the saves, but he always tried his best. He seriously loved it, whether he won or lost a game. I mean, he came off the ice smiling from ear to ear. And if that doesn't tell you much, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. But he had a huge smile on his face every time. So this is his personality. And every time he got off the ice, smiles. Even when, like, they lost, he would still be smiling and his teammates would be crying. And it's kind of cute because they're so small. But, okay, that's my son. Okay. But over time, during the 10U season, something started to shift, okay? And maybe you've been there too, when you start noticing the cracks, when the thing that used to light someone up starts just to weigh them down. I mean, I think we've all felt that, right? And like I said, and as you might know, there may be more than one goalie to a team, which I love and is totally fine. I'm in full support of all goalies and their development. And I'm always cheering them on, even if it may be the goalie on the other team. And I accidentally catch myself sometimes. And I'm like, come on, as our team goes to the goalie. And I'm like, oops, cheering for the wrong team. But we started noticing the difference in how the two goalies were being treated. And we noticed that the other goalie got more attention. And like I said, I don't care about that. I love that. I love when a goalie is being coached. But there was more coaching and encouragement from these other coaches. And obviously my husband was supporting both goalies and it was awesome. Okay. And listen, I'm not one of those, my kids should be the favorite moms, okay? I am seriously all for fair play, okay? But honestly, honest to God, this wasn't that. It literally felt personal. It was subtle, but just consistent through the year. There was even a game where my son was told by a coach that he was sitting out during the game. The coach told him that, hey, sometimes goalies don't get to play the games, okay? And here's the thing. If you go into USA Hockey, it says that at this age, at the 10U level, the goalies are supposed to split game time evenly, okay? Just for development. And me and my husband really agreed with that because when it comes to just playing one goalie an entire game, I feel like that comes when they're older, when they have the experience. But let me just pause there, okay? Do you know what it feels like to watch your child fully geared up, waiting at the benches for an entire game and realize they're not going in? Literally, I sat there trying not to cry, trying not to scream or get angry, but my heart just broke. We tried to talk to the coaches. We tried to be polite and reasonable and collaborative, but nothing changed. Okay, why was my kid the only kid on the team that didn't get to play? And my husband made that point to the coach. He told him, okay, we're all paying the same. We're all in this together. But out of all these kids who paid the same amount of money that we did, there's only one kid that didn't get to play, my son. Okay. And to make matters worse, the team environment wasn't healthy either. There were times when other players would call him names, tell him he sucked when he didn't make the save, or just plain cuss at him. And me and my husband try to instill in our children that having negative and ugly language is not okay and it doesn't look good or nice. And I seriously feel that. I'm not perfect and I occasionally use foul language, especially when I'm upset. But, you know, we strive to not use that language around our kids because we want them to know that it just doesn't look pretty. It just looks ugly, okay? Some of the children didn't have any respect. And I'm not saying it was all the children, it was just maybe a select few. And here's what bothered us, okay? The coaches, the adults, the parents, they said nothing. They would literally witness this happening to some kids on the team. And it wasn't just my son. It was other kids too. But literally they said nothing. There was no correction, no accountability, just silence. And they just let it keep going. And to us, it wasn't just about hockey anymore. It was about who my child was becoming in that environment. At some point, my husband and I had to look at each other and ask, why are we still here? Okay. Was it for the love of the game? Or was it because we didn't want to quit? Because we didn't want to deal with the opinions of other parents? Because we felt like if we just held on a little longer, things might change? But we realized we were just staying out of fear. The fear of disappointing others and ourselves, really. The fear of what other people would say if we quit. The fear of just starting over and just stopping his development. Really, it was the fear of giving up on a team that we had made a commitment to since the beginning. But really, the person I feel we were disappointing the most was our son. So as parents, we made the call. And sometimes parents have to make tough decisions. And I am very sure that you know how that is. But we made the call. We pulled him from the team. And it was really nearly the end of the season. And we were close to going to the state tournament at that point in time, which they lost our son for. So they only had one goalie going in. And it was one of the hardest things we've ever done as parents because we had poured everything into that team. We poured money, time, and just a lot of heart and care into it, okay? And it wasn't just his identity at the time. It had become part of ours too, our whole family. And I kept thinking, but what about all the time we've invested? What about the friendships? What if we were making a mistake? Okay? But deep down, I knew staying was costing him more than leaving ever would. Once we let go of all those feelings, there was definitely grief. But there was also space. And in that space, something beautiful started to happen, okay? We ended the last few weeks of the season practicing with a lower pressure team. And it was just a couple weeks because the season was almost over, like I said. And then we continued on to spring hockey. I mean, he was asked to play up in the 12U because there was just, I don't know what happened with the kids. There was too many or there was not enough goalies and they were trying to spread them out. But he was asked to play up. But we asked to keep him right where he needed to be in the 10U with a team that was more fun. And not to mention, we asked that he can play with his best friend, who he didn't get to play with all year round because he made that minor team. And it was great because it wasn't about the competition or being the best or winning the game. It was really about just having fun. It was about playing the game just simply because you love it. And you know what happened? That spark came back. The joy, the confidence, the laughter. My son came back to life. We literally had him back. And it hit me so hard because sometimes we think we're doing the right thing by pushing through, by staying loyal, by not quitting. But true loyalty, true commitment is to your well-being, to your growth, to your joy, not just systems that hurt you. And this isn't just about hockey. This story is about all of us, really. How many of us have stayed in places far longer than we should have simply because we didn't want to walk outside of our comfort zones? Maybe it's a job that you once loved, but now it leaves you feeling numb, burnt out, and just dreadful in general. Maybe it's a daily grind that doesn't make sense for the version of you you've grown into. Maybe it's a commitment or a business idea or a relationship or a schedule that no longer aligns with the life you're trying to build. And we tell ourselves, but I've already invested so much. What will people think? I don't want to disappoint anyone. This was the plan, okay? But here's what I've learned. Plans change. People evolve. And letting go isn't giving up. It's honoring your growth. I'm telling you, this experience has changed me as a mom and as a person. It taught me that letting go doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you cared enough to stop the harm. It taught me that people will always have opinions, but those opinions don't pay the emotional cost of staying stuck where you are. It taught me that even good things can become not good anymore. And that doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It means you're aware. So if you're in a season where something just doesn't feel good anymore, whether it's your job, your schedule, your business, your relationships, or something your child is involved in, just like mine, I want to give you permission. It's okay to change the plan, okay? It's okay to walk away. And it's okay to say, this isn't working anymore. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise. You're allowed to pivot. You're allowed to choose the peace over the pressure. You're allowed to say, this no longer fits the person that I'm becoming. I want you to listen to your intuition, that whisper inside of you that says, there's something more aligned out there. There's something out there that is more for me and that will make me happier because you are not failing. You're freeing yourself. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from something that once meant everything to you because you finally realized it was hurting more than helping. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing peace. You do not have to apologize for putting your child's emotional safety above everyone else's expectations. And you're not selfish for choosing a new path, even if it confuses people who don't live in your shoes, okay? If something doesn't serve you anymore, if it doesn't serve you a higher purpose or bring happiness into your life, it is literally okay to let go. So here's what I'll leave you with today, okay? What in your life no longer serves you or your family? What have you been holding on to simply because it feels familiar, comfortable, or expected? And what would it look like to let that go? Not with fear, but with faith. And I promise you, something beautiful happens when you stop forcing what's not working anymore and start making room for what truly fits you. And trust me, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away. And when you trust that knowing, you lead you and your family into healing. Okay? So thank you for listening today. This was a vulnerable one, I know. And if you made it all the way to the end here, I want you to know how grateful I am for your time and your heart. If today's episode resonated with you today, please share it with another mama who might need to hear it. We all need to hear it sometimes, okay? That it's okay to let go. You never know whose life you'll touch with a simple message. You can also shoot me an email at support@courseroots.com because I would love to hear what you think about this. And if this episode helped you see your own situation a little clearer, hit that subscribe button and subscribe to my email list so that you don't miss any more insight and motivation coming up. And hey, take a deep breath today, release that pressure, and remember, it's okay to let go. Until next time, bye.